Welcome to the In Search of More podcast. I am your host, Eli Nash. Join me weekly on my quest for more from myself and more from this world. We'll see you on the other side. All right, Michael, welcome.
Happy to be here, man.
I'm sitting with Michael Holt, founder of Savage and Saint. We'll talk about how you came up with that name in a second. And you introduced me by a friend, Jonathan Eisenberger.
Yeah, I don't actually know Jonathan so well, but my best friend is his personal trainer, fitness trainer. And actually,
awesome.
I mean, he's a bit more than a personal trainer, but yeah, so he linked us up.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Jonathan's introduced me to Gabor Mate, Rudy Rachman, and now you. So I don't know if the other two names mean anything to you, but
They do.
You're in good company.
It's to be determined if I can rise to the occasion.
Let's see. What are they? Oh, what's that saying I heard? You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of training. Have you heard that?
That's from martial arts.
Is that?
Yeah. So you can I'm a martial artist, martial art instructor. And you can learn a technique in the dojo with a cooperative opponent and really work it out. But in the actual moment of combat or street attack, you will devolve into the absolute lowest level of your training.
Oh, I
guess that applies across the board.
Yeah, across the board in life. Yeah. So talk about what Savage and Saint does, what you do, and then we'll get to your story.
So it's a consulting company. I'm a masculine vitality specialist. I specialize in men's health. I have, in my business, I have one-on-one consulting with clients. My typical client is obviously a man who's successful with view to the external world. Typically a guy who's done very well for himself in his chosen field I work with. I got a couple of guys big in real estate and tech entrepreneurs, athletes, entertainers, seeking an edge, performance excellence. But often the men that I'm working with they're doing so well externally, but they've given so much of their energy to their pursuit that even though they have all the things, they feel depleted.
Right.
And so that's the gist of my one-on-one work. And then I teach men's courses online. I have my foundational course is called Masculine Vitality. It's a dive into optimizing one's chi, life force energy, sense of drive through leveraging lifestyle modifications. It's like a modern man has fallen pretty far from his potential because modern cultural norms are quite insane if you kind of zoom out and really look at it. The things that we eat, for example, the way that we don't move the way our bodies are intended to move. We don't even breathe functionally. We can't sit still and just be for a moment. So in the course, we look at 6 areas of focus in order of their importance for one's survival. Consciousness, the state of your mind, that's contemplative practice, prayer, meditation.
How do you measure that?
So I've had the good fortune, we'll get into my story, I suppose. I've had the good fortune of seeking out meditation teachers who I just kind of luckily encountered, and looking back, I found some real deal bona fide meditation teachers who frame the practice as the cultivation of specific attentional skills. Clarity, the capacity to really connect to your body and feel your body. It sounds basic, but we spend most of our attentional resources from the neck up. Thinking. We're very disconnected from our bodies. Equanimity, the capacity to just accept the moment as it is. But the big one is concentration. Concentration is the foundational skill that you can develop. And how do you measure it? It's subjective. For example, rudimentary meditation practice would just be a breath counting strategy. And you'll find that, let's say you're going to count from 1 to 8 inside, just as an internal metronome. You might get to number 4, and then you start thinking about what's for lunch, and then next thing you know, you
lost track.
You lost track. But that presents a fork in the road, where the temptation is to say, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm not good at it. But the more skillful response is, I lost track, but I got back on track. What was that about? I had a moment of awakening, a moment of mindfulness. All of a sudden, I got a bird's eye view on my own mind, and I noticed where it was.
Right. It's not about the moment you lost it. It's about the moment you found it.
And then with continued practice, you don't lose it. You're always on it. It's called metacognition, the capacity to notice where your mind wanders moment by moment. And that capacity births an opportunity to become the master of your own mind, to discern moment by moment, what am I thinking about when I'm sitting in traffic, when I'm playing with my son, when I'm chopping vegetables, and is what I'm thinking about useful? And then you can start to become intentional with your attention all the time. And that's a superpower. So how do you measure it? It's subjective. So an individual could say, okay, for a 10-minute period of practice with breath counting, it's a 12-week course. So week 1, I would get to number 6 consistently and lose track. And by week 12, you can do it for a period of 10 minutes. That's called continuous concentration.
Understood. So you start with consciousness. What are the other 5?
Right. Thanks for bringing me back on track. Breath. Establishing functional breathing mechanics. Most people are chest breathers. If you look at people, they breathe like this. The breath gets down to like the bottom of the chest and then up to the top of the neck. We're designed to be full body breathers. You're a father. Look at your kids when they were little. The baby breathes with the belly. Yeah. So you can establish functional breathing mechanics, which is breathing into the lower third of the lung, softening the belly, breathing with your full body, taking a long, slow exhale. And immediately you start to calm down.
And this is standard in conversation or doing other stuff, or it's when you're intentionally breathing?
So if you dedicate, let's say 10 minutes a day to intentionally training your breath, then when that practice period is over, the neuromuscular connections that you're making follow you around for the rest of the rest of your day, the rest of your life. So you become a more functional breather as time goes by. I always say, look, extrapolate the breath on a continuum, and at the one extreme end, you have a breath like this.
Okay.
Like you just woke up on a resort somewhere. What do? You have palm trees outside, and your girl is with you, and life is good. What do? Instinctively. You don't have to think about it. You just
take a deep breath.
And then the other extreme end is, stressful moment, a panic attack, you're freaking out. Think about a literal panic attack. It's like, It's impossible to feel calm and breathe like that. So a man's mission is to establish the mindfulness required to discern, where does my breath moment by moment land on that continuum when I'm not necessarily thinking about it? Because attached to the depth of your breath is going to be a feeling state. If you have a shallow breath, there's going to be a moment by moment, subtle background, hardly perceptible feeling state of
a little tension, a little anxiety.
And you're going to jump through all of these hoops to try to figure out, well, maybe it's my relationship, or maybe it's my job, or maybe it's all of these things, or maybe it's my childhood trauma, or take a deep breath. Learn how to breathe. So you can regulate your nervous system by learning how to breathe functionally, but then you can push the envelope, and I think breathe yourself into some pretty transcendent, non-dual states, and have transcendent experiences where you connect with God, source, creator, whatever word works for you. So the breath is a vehicle that can alter your experience of the present moment. Mm-hmm. So if you just do those 2 things, learn how to concentrate and learn how to breathe, a lot of problems go away. Now, if we add in number 3, sleep hygiene, like really dial in your sleep. Like give yourself a couple of weeks to really prioritize your sleep and make sure that you're sleeping well. Sleep is the best medicine available, and it's free. When we sleep, our body regulates emotions from the course of the day. We just unwind little pockets of emotional tension and trauma. Physical repairs take place. And if you're not getting the sleep, then you're not getting the repairs.
So is it the amount of hours, or is there some more factors that you're considering with sleep?
There's more
hygiene.
factors. It's not just the amount of hours, it's the depth of the sleep that you're getting during those hours. It's the times that those hours come through. I think the human organism is designed to really downshift when the sun goes down and come up when the sun comes up. And the more your sleep rhythms are aligned to the rhythms of the sun, the more restful your sleep is going to be. So exercise some stewardship over your mind. Breathe, sleep, drink enough water, good, clean, quality water.
You're at number 4.
We're at number 4. And notice how simple these are.
Yeah, it's so simple.
So simple, bro. I've done a deep dive on health. I've studied courses for years, complex stuff. And it comes back to this conclusion that, oh, it's really, really simple. It's really simple. Drink enough water. The source of your water matters. Basic rule. Take your body weight in pounds, cut it in half, drink that many ounces of water every day. Not for a day, not for 2 days, not for 3 days, every single day. Start to get your body to feel like it's hydrated, and watch what happens to your skin, to your mood, to your energy. Water is the most highly electrical conductive substance. So that's, your body is energy, chi. So you get enough fluid in your body, you start to feel electric. Eat quality food. Most of what passes for food in this modern culture is rat poison. You know, the standard American diet is creating weak, soft men who are easy to manipulate and coerce, honestly. And so if you would just, for a period of time, in the course, we take 2 weeks where we just eat real food. Don't make it any more complicated than that. You don't have to worry about ketosis or intermittent fasting, or you can in time. But step number 1 is just eat real food. If it would confuse a primitive man, don't put it in your mouth. And watch what happens to your mood, your energy, your vitality, your sense of purpose and ambition. And then the last one is move your body. You don't have to go to a CrossFit workout and set personal records every day. Just move every day. Take a walk, ride a bike, play catch with your kid, stretch, move in a way that feels good, but move every single day. You do those 6 things every single day. Like I said, a lot of problems start to just disappear.
Consciousness,
breath, sleep, hydration,
water,
nutrition, movement.
Got it.
Simple, right?
It's the simplest. Yeah.
It's the simplest. So it's not complicated. We make it very complicated because that kind of gives us an excuse as to why we're not doing so well. Because we don't have the time. We don't know where to start. But it's very simple. And when you recognize how simple it is, now you just have to claim personal responsibility for your well-being.
Yeah.
Because it's not that complicated.
Right. Well,
it's not necessarily a man's fault that he's ignorant, because we're not taught how to be healthy. Because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I believe that
go down a rabbit hole.
Men who are healthy, strong, vital, can think clearly for themselves, become sovereign in their being, and they're not easy to manipulate or coerce. So if I'm an evil genius who wants to get away with shady shit, I would not encourage men to be strong and healthy. Now, it's 2023, so I can't kill them or castrate them, but I can just kind of encourage them to eat chemical, toxic, poisonous food, drink beers, binge Netflix, scroll. Guys like that aren't going to get in my way.
I hear you. I saw the other day, it said all you need for someone to become a conspiracy theorist is to get a chicken.
I saw it. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, it happened to me because I'd kind of seen this before, and my wife is real careful with organic and natural and seed oils and all the stuff she wants to avoid or have in the diet. It doesn't show, but this is all organic. Let me tell you.
You look healthy, man.
So thanks.
You look healthy.
Thanks. So when you get regular chickens, which we had until a coyote killed, so now we have baby chickens. They'll be making eggs soon, and they look nothing like the ones in the store. And that's what the point of that's what this post was saying.
Yeah.
Is you get a regular chicken and you see the egg creates, and you start asking yourself, how is this possible?
Right.
Especially if you see 2, you'll see 2 eggs from the same chicken, different color, different shape, different size. And then the ones that you buy in the store, if you're not buying the organic, cage-free, non-pasteurized, you're going, what is it? Not it's pasture, whatever it is. The organic, cage-free. They're going to be the same size, the same color, bright white. Like, where the hell did this come from?
Yeah.
And he said, once you go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah, you start asking questions.
yeah, conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, you become a fringe nut. I've learned too much about food to eat the way people typically eat. So I'm a nut. So sometimes people roll their eyes like, "Oh, Michael, he's one of those guys." But if you just do a surface level research on factory farms and the conditions that the animals that we eat live in, it's repulsive. It's not only disgusting, it's inhumane. And I think we'll be judged pretty harshly by history, the way we treat animals that we grow in factory farms. But like I said, if you just do a little bit of research, you start to think, fuck.
You're saying that it's possible in 200 years from now they'll be mocking all of us because, like the equivalent of slave owners,
Sure. Yeah.
That, hey, look
There
at
might
the
be
way
a little bit of a jump with that. But yeah, I mean, look, go back in history and think of the crazy shit that was normalized for them and think,
yeah,
what the fuck were they thinking? They didn't know how insane they were. They just accepted these norms because that's just the way it is.
That's what everyone was doing, yeah.
But now we lose that and we think that, okay, well, now it's different. But it's not different. We're insane. So normal, like this is a philosophy that's really coming up a lot in my work, is normal is insane. And if a man would want to become excellent, if he would want to become vitally alive and healthy and happy and whole, he needs to free himself from the prison of the normal and live.
The masses are asses?
Yeah. So you would have to, look, if you want to be healthy, happy, like really happy, if you want to be engaged in purposeful work and have energy to kick the sheets off you every morning and get to it, you have to ask yourself, how many people do you know like that?
Right.
Not many. So if you want that for yourself, you have to do things that most people don't do because it's not normal. It's not normal to feel like that in this modern time. Most people are, I don't want to paint a doomsday scenario because life is beautiful and people are beautiful. But if you look around, if you go to a public space, an amusement park or a football game, and just look around at people, most people aren't doing so well. I think obesity is like
it's rampant. Yeah,
70, 80%. That's insane. That's what I'm saying. Normal is insane.
Let's talk about food a little bit because I've been interested in it. I kind of tipped a scale at 235 about 6 weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm done. I feel good and I exercise, but in terms of food, I had this thing where this lie I was telling myself that, when I was single, I was able to maintain it quite well. But now that I'm married, there's other food around and I have to control myself much more. So I was able to tell myself that I'm okay because if the situation was different, I'd be fine. And someone pointed it out to me and I was like, you're right. So that's changing. And since then, my wife is making me food every day and that's pretty much my food for the day. Not that we don't go out to eat once in a while, but even there, it's been much, much more disciplined and I'm feeling it. I'm seeing the difference in the energy and in my body, etc. And a lot of that was like the real difference was I was ordering healthy food just from Uber Eats for lunch, and now I'm not. Like that's the real difference. And this is stuff I'm not talking about ordering, cheeseburgers. I'm talking about ordering even a salmon salad, but who knows from where and who knows what else is in it.
Yeah.
So can we talk about food because it's definitely I've seen it in the last 6 weeks and. My wife always talking about food. Always.
Yeah.
About
well, it's so
food.
intimately connected to your experience of the present moment. If you're building your body, like, again, it's all very simple. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's not profound. Before you eat something, take a look at it and just recognize that this is about to become me. We don't do that. That's why we shovel bullshit into our faces for a fleeting moment of mouth pleasure, and then we have all of these symptoms that we don't tie back to what we're eating. And then we go to a doctor who gives us medicine that numbs us to these symptoms, but doesn't explain to you that it's because of what you're eating regularly. But to your point, healthy food. In America, there are substances permitted into our food supply that they don't allow in other countries, like industrialized first world countries, in Europe. So if you really want to be healthy, you have to take responsibility for the preparation of your food. And if you don't have enough time for that, then maybe you have to re-examine your priorities.
You're saying even in terms of going to restaurants or things like that?
Depends on the restaurant, but
right.
I mean, look, you can go to a grocery store and just at random, you can even close your eyes and just walk through an aisle, grab anything and read the ingredients. You're going to find chemically preservatives, artificial flavors, and sugar. That's going to be in anything. So if you get something from a restaurant and it's a salmon salad, the dressings, the stuff like that, that's the stuff that gets you. Because the human diet has changed more in the last 200 years than the previous 10,000 years. And there's food is not just calories, but it's information. And the food products that are on the market today speak in a language that our bodies don't really understand. So watch what happens if you go to the grocery store, go to the farmer's market, purchase real food that, like I said, wouldn't confuse a primitive man. Food.
So explain what that means, not confuse a primitive man. Because a salmon salad feels like it wouldn't confuse a primitive man.
Right.
Until, like you said, the dressing.
Until you really look at, what's in it. I mean, but if you were to make one at home and you have some greens, some vegetables, a little bit of fruit and some salmon, and then maybe a little bit of olive oil or some balsamic, yeah, that's good food.
Right.
It's all what you want to architect a diet that has mostly single ingredient foods. Like there's no ingredient label. Like what are the ingredients in a chicken thigh?
Right.
Or red onion or olive. You know what I'm saying? It's when we start getting into the processed and chemically preserved foods that we're ingesting those chemicals and they affect our system. And when you start to eliminate them, and especially when you do this in conjunction with a contemplative practice, and really it's like, see, what we're talking about here is not about aesthetics. I appreciate that you want to tighten up a little bit and lose some weight, and that's good. You should, but it's got to be deeper than that. It's got to be. It's like a spiritual discipline, We talked about those 6 pillars: mind, breath, sleep, hydration, nutrition, movement. One of my teachers once said, if you want to know what God is, then you have to really contemplate the things that you can't live without. I don't mean the things that would make your life uncomfortable if you didn't have them. I mean the things that you would die without. So by that rationale, those 6 are listed in order. If you don't have consciousness, you might as well not be alive. If you don't have a breath for 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to die. So breath must be pretty close to whatever God is. If you go too long without sleeping, your body's going to just shut down. If you can't sleep, you will die.
Yeah, I saw somewhere 7 days is irreversible.
Yeah. Oh, you got to read Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Sleep is, in the Guinness Book of World Records, he says this in the book, they had to remove longest without sleep because people were driving themselves psychotic. Sleep is critical. So sleep is close to God. Water is close to God.
Right.
Food is close to God. So it has to be like, it's not about getting down from 235 to 215, although that's part of it, and that's great. It's about getting closer to God. And what you put inside your mouth every day is getting you closer or further from God.
Yeah, I was in Costa Rica on a we were a number of guys doing ayahuasca weekend, and during it we had a chef who was there who was cooking all raw vegan foods, and then but some of us were kosher, and I'm comfortable with those foods, but some of them weren't. So they went to the store and bought a bunch of kosher foods, and I'm seeing pretzels that can last on the shelf for 2 years,
Yeah.
all these other foods. And I'm kind of like, wow, isn't it amazing that somehow we're looking at these natural foods, but maybe, and I'm not challenging kosher laws. I'm actually, the other side of it is because the knife wasn't appropriate that was used. So these vegetables and everything else is not kosher, which it isn't. But this stuff is, meaning I've thought a lot about, I know it's not your frame of reference, but in terms of kosher, because kosher, it's a huge part. If you talk about the kind of the main, they call 613 Jewish laws, but that's really biblical.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Jewish law, like practice, there's thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
Between customs and laws, there's something for everything. There's the order we put our shoes on in the morning, the order we tie our shoes, everything. Literally, I'm not joking. There's a lot of rules and a lot of laws. But when you talk about Jewish practice, one of the foundational things is eating, is kosher.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought a lot about whether a lot of the stuff that have kosher symbols, because a lot of these chemicals, kosher works in the reverse, meaning if it's not kosher. It's not like these are kosher foods, but then you find something that's, let's say, a chemical which you couldn't pronounce, and then you say, okay, that's not kosher because it's not one of these foods. It's actually the reverse. These are the non-kosher foods. If you're not eating that, then it's kosher. So
Interesting.
Chemicals have become kosher, but I've wondered if we'll look back at that, if one day rabbis will look and say, hey, we made a mistake here.
Maybe.
Kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
We didn't have a rule for this because it didn't say, there was biblically, and the rabbis from thousands of years ago weren't asked about MSG.
Right.
So they didn't say, hey, not kosher. But I wonder if we'll look back at it from that perspective. So it definitely jives with what I was raised with, Judaism, that food is a very, very, very central component of spirituality.
Very central. And initially, I think if you want to extricate yourself from cultural norms, especially regarding food, you'll have to be disciplined, because it does require discipline to eat real food,
Yeah, it doesn't last long.
What do you mean?
Meaning real food, you can't store it for...
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, think about that. Like, why would you want to eat something that doesn't decompose? You ever see a video of somebody who takes a Big Mac and just puts it under a glass dish? That thing will not rot. Fungus and bugs will not eat a Big Mac because they have better sense. So what do you think happens when you put that into your body?
Right. You're saying if it doesn't decompose on the shelf, it's not breaking down in our body
exactly.
either.
That's what I mean.
It's like eating plastic.
The human diet has changed more in the last 200 years than the previous 10,000. And it's not just calories, it's information. And the information that our food speaks is not the information that our body understands. So it creates all kind of problems. And it's not always physical. It can be mental, emotional, even spiritual. And like I said, a lot of these issues just kind of unwind if you address these 6 main principles. But like the point I was making is that it requires discipline at first. You have to, it's not just going to happen unless you draw a hard line in the sand and say, okay, I'm not going to be the kind of man who poisons myself. I'm not going to be the kind of man who feeds my kids fucking Pop-Tarts because it's convenient. That's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at first. But as you start to acclimate to what food tastes like, as you start to acclimate to how food feels, and like I said, while you're making these adjustments, you're also taking time to sit with yourself every day and just feel your body. And as that connection to the felt sense of your body starts to become more amplified, eating well is no longer an act of discipline. It's an act of common sense, because if you do have a pretzel or whatever,
you'll feel it.
You feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it right away. It's like, this doesn't feel good. And this also doesn't taste good. Our palate is so overstimulated that we've lost connection to what food tastes like. But if you give yourself a little while to reacclimate to flavors, then the artificial stuff is fucking gross.
So when you say a little while, how long are you talking about? When you say a little while to acclimate?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that I have like a 34 days.
I don't mean that. Is it a week? Is it 6 months?
So in the men's course that I teach is 12 weeks. That's not a huge amount of time, but it's also not just a drop in the bucket.
And you're talking about perfect?
No,
for those 12
it's
weeks?
not perfect. Like, if only it was so simple as, okay, Michael's making some sense. I got to make some changes. I want to make the changes. You're not a robot. That's not how it
Right.
works. Self-improvement, progress, is just a series of hard charges forward and then backsliding into failure and then picking yourself up and moving forward again. But over the course of time, the forward pushes last longer than the backslides. And then all of a sudden, in time, you're asking me how long. I don't know how long.
Right.
A couple of months, maybe a couple of years. I mean, time. Give time. But
Give time.
give time. And given enough time, the forward progress just starts to propel itself, and you have less backslides, and now a new normal, a new way of being, a new understanding of yourself has emerged. You just baselined a new way, and that takes time.
I was thinking when you said the 6, you would say something about sexuality. You didn't go there at all in terms of masculine vitality.
Well, that's, in the men's course, we do talk about sexuality, sexual energy. The whole course curriculum is meant to amplify your libido, your testosterone, your sexual energy. But that's just kind of a through line of the whole course. If you're establishing some volition over your own mind, if you're breathing well, another big part of it is emotional regulation. That's part of the contemplative practice. You're sleeping well, you're drinking enough water, you're eating enough food, and you're moving. That's going to start to amplify your sexual vitality and your sexual virility, especially if you're eating real food.
Right.
So that just kind of happens. It's something that I often talk about. It's like sexual health and health are the same thing. So for guys, a lot of it is like I talk about when I talk about the course, you're going to improve your libido, improve the strength of your erections, improve your sexual energy and your attractiveness to the opposite sex. I could also just say you're going to become healthier, but guys don't really care about their health and well-being. It's like, okay, we're going to drop your cholesterol and improve all your biomarkers, and guys' face just glosses over. Okay, I don't care. You're going to get more powerful erections. Wait, what did you say? What do I have to do? What do I have to eat? Tell me what I got to eat.
Right.
So health and sexual health are the same. It's like the intelligence of the body. If the organism is depleted, one of the first things on the chopping block is your desire capacity to reproduce, because you don't have the energy to maintain this, let alone make another one of you. So as you start to amplify your vitality, now you start to feel,
let's create more.
And you're becoming the kind of man who we need more of. So you become more attractive to the opposite sex. Look, guys don't have to be handsome. Like some guys are handsome, but you don't have to be handsome to be attractive. Just be healthy. If you're healthy, that's attractive, because your posture, your breath, the color of your skin communicates strength, vigor, virility. You just have to take care of yourself. And so that's what my work is about. That's what the course is about. Self-governance. Learning how to govern yourself, your energy, in a way that is skillful, sustainable, and responsible.
So walk me through the course, this 12 weeks, and what's happening. You've said these 6 principles, and then it's a group, it's one-on-one. How's this working?
It's a group. Yeah, so in
Online.
my one-on-one consulting, I basically work this curriculum on a more subjective basis. But in the group course, it's a 12-week course, and we spend 2 weeks on each topic. We really give a strong 2-week dive on each one, and the goal of the course really is to, by the end of the 12 weeks, okay, now you have a day where if you continue to live this day for another 6 weeks, another 6 months, another 4 years, another 5 years, you are going to be aging like this, while the rest of the population is going to be aging like this. And 10 years are going to go by, and they're going to say, Ellie, what is your secret? Oh, I just sit still every day. I take deep breaths. I drink enough water. I eat real food. I move my body, and I sleep. No, Scott, what are you doing? What's the secret? That's not a secret. The secret is discipline and knowledge and understanding. But that's the course. It's simple. I've taught the course a few times now, and I say, look, you're probably not going to learn any revolutionary information. A lot of this shit you already know, but you don't do. So the question is, why don't you do it? And that's the real question. And that's why the meditation practices are a through line for the whole course, because if you are going to consistently take good care of yourself, you have to treat yourself like somebody that you love, respect, and revere. And that's the practice, really. That's what health is. Health is looking the man in the mirror in the face and becoming his friend and taking care of him the way you take care of somebody that you love. That's the practice. And that's not easy.
In those moments to spend time with ourselves intentionally.
Yeah. But to come to a place where you authentically revere yourself. Love isn't even the right word. And I think for guys, for whatever reason, you start talking about self-love, sometimes like, yeah, okay, I heard that hippie stuff before. Right. What about revere? Like the way you would revere a king. If a king showed up here on your doorstep, would you give him a bag of Doritos?
Probably not.
Probably not. So that reverence, it starts to land that, oh, and this kind of happens in the contemplative practice too, you know, the ideas that you have about yourself and who you are in the stillness just start to unwind a little bit, and you start to feel into this mystery. I don't know who I am or who made me or how long I have. I'm going to take care of this vessel because it almost doesn't even feel like me. It's home for now. But I'm responsible for this. So I'm going to respect it, revere it, and love it. And that, as an operating system, will take you further than you could ever go on discipline or looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, oh, fuck, I'm 235, I look like shit. I got to make some changes. That can give you a little kick in the right direction.
Right.
But if
it's not going to keep you going for 100 years.
It's not going to keep you going. It's not. You know, discipline is a finite resource. Self-loathing motivates a lot of self-improvement, but it's not sustainable. Love, reverence, respect for the man in the glass infuses your being with an energy that you could never find on your own. And now you start to take care of yourself on an energy that it's like the more you use it, the more you get. And you care for yourself in a way because you recognize that the better I care for myself, the more vital energy I cultivate, the more energy I have to take care of them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So sorry, go ahead.
I'm curious to hear your story. Meaning this, I'm getting a sense of where you are today. I'm curious what led to it.
Yeah, so years ago, I was, this is probably my late teens, early 20s.
Where'd you grow up before that?
Philadelphia. I had a hard time. I couldn't seem to stay out of trouble, man. My period of my life, like 17, 18 to 22, 23, I got in some trouble with the cops, and it was just quite a reckless period of my life, and I didn't have any love for the man in the mirror. I know what it is to hate yourself. I have that experience, and I got into a high-speed chase. I got into some pretty significant fights. I got arrested for selling drugs, and I just had this epiphany. You know, it took quite a while, but I got this epiphany like, damn, bro, if you don't make some changes, your future's not going to be bright. I'm going to get killed. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to get locked up. So I had I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted to be. I knew the things that I wanted to do and the things I wanted to avoid, but my mind seemed to have a mind of its own. I can't control this thing. So I'll continue to engage in these behaviors and find myself dealing with these consequences that I didn't want to be in, but I didn't feel like I could manage myself intelligently. So meditation seemed like it couldn't hurt. You know, things are bad enough. This can't hurt.
That's where it started, meditation?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I kind of went through this renaissance at age, I guess I was 23 or something, around then, where I was like, I guess I bottomed out, and I was like, all right. So all at the same time, I started to look at my food. I started to get back in the gym. I started to address some emotional issues that I was dealing with about what it is to be a man. I was suffering a lot, but I thought, man, I'd have to be a pussy to talk about this to anybody,
Right.
you know? So like all at once, I kind of went through this renaissance. And yeah, meditation was a central part of it because, so long story short, I mentioned at the outset, I had the good fortune of encountering some really bona fide teachers. So I moved from Philly to LA when I'm 24 because I just knew, okay, I got to make some changes, and it's probably best that I change my environment. So I did that, and then I find some meditation teachers. It's kind of divine intervention. I find a book. The book leads me to a facility that was close
What's
to
the
where I
name of
was
the book?
living.
You remember?
I don't remember the name of the book, but I'll tell you the name of the teacher I found was
Okay.
George Haas. And so I start practicing with him and learning about meditation, like really learning about the practice. And I feel called to do a meditation retreat. So I go out to Joshua Tree, do a 3-day meditation retreat. There was no moment on that retreat where the clouds part and the sun comes down and everything is illuminated and I'm healed. No, far from it. My experience of the 3-day retreat was mostly miserable. The whole entirety of the 3 days was spent trying and failing to engage the meditative techniques and completely fail to even stay awake or manage my own mind. A lot of internal judgments around, bro, what the fuck? You're from Philly. You're out in Joshua Tree with these hippies. What happened to you? You used to be somebody. You used to be tough. What happened to you? So it was miserable. I mean, it was terrible. It was hard. It's hard. That's the thing. Meditation retreat is not the right word because people think, oh, that's nice. That must be so relaxing. No, it's not relaxing. Imagine how would you feel if you had to remove all distractions, no phone, no TV, no nothing, and just sit with yourself.
Yeah, they have these getting popular now, the darkness retreats. Have you seen them?
Yeah, I've yet to do one, but I'm gonna do one. I'm on the list for one.
Nice.
But anyway, I come back from Joshua
It
Tree.
feels scary as hell is the answer.
Yeah. And actually, there's a pretty significant vetting process for those because you can definitely go psychotic if you don't have some, tools. Anyway, I come back from Joshua Tree 3 days, and I couldn't deny that there's something. It's hard to articulate and it's subtle, but there's a little bit of space. I feel a little bit of space, and in that space, there's more of a volition,
Choice.
to my own mind, choice. Where before there was only a reactivity, and like I said, it was subtle, hard to articulate, and it wasn't like a 180. Now I'm a new man. Not even close, but something was shifting. And so that motivated me to stay consistent in my daily practice and then go on another retreat longer. And then over the course of the years, I just maintained a consistent daily practice. Retreat practice just became part of my year. I would go away for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, silent practice, and have some really different experiences with no substances required, just stillness. And I can remember going on a 4-week silent meditation retreat, and some of the people in my life were like, "Are you okay? Like, people think you're a little nuts. It's not normal.
It's definitely not normal.
It's not normal." But
you said 4 weeks silent meditation.
But I'm thinking, imagine if you lived to be 95 years old. To take 4 weeks to just stop and just stop? Just 4 weeks? It feels like that's not nearly long enough. Given a 95-year life, if you're blessed, to take 1 month, just hold on. What the fuck is going on here? It's not nearly long enough. Especially because that 4 weeks can totally alter the course of the rest of your life. And for me, it did, looking back.
That became a regular practice.
Yeah. Retreat practice.
Those very short silent retreats.
Yeah. And like I said, I was working as a fitness trainer at the time, and I would tell my client, I would structure my business so that I could disappear because it was very important to me. It was the most important thing to me. And people would often say, like, "Oh, you're so lucky. That must be so nice." And I would think, you have no fucking idea. They would say, "I wish I had that kind of time." I would say, "You do have that time. We all have that time.
Just make the choice.
Yeah, we just don't make the choice. So, yeah, through the stillness practice, long-held knots started to unwind in me. And then I also got into martial art. So I had a lot of aggression and anger and tension in my body. And I found martial art to be a very therapeutic kind of playground to exorcise all of that aggression. And the paradox of the martial art path is that the deeper you go, the more skillful you become in the application of violence, the more peaceful you become internally, the less you ever even think about fighting or hitting somebody or hurting somebody. But I remember being on a meditation retreat, and I distinctly remember a moment where I was walking from the meditation hall back to my dormitory on this long dirt path, and this little Asian woman is walking toward me, walking to the meditation hall. And my mind suggested to me the Muay Thai combination that I would implement if she attacked me. Straight right hand, knee, right elbow. And in that moment of clarity, metacognition, I caught that and I thought, what? Why are you thinking, like, what? And so then I started pulling this thread of, like, what am I so afraid of? Why would you be worried about being attacked on a meditation retreat by an Asian woman? It's not going to happen, bro. What are you so afraid of? So in that way, the meditation, the practice of stillness helps you contact the deeper emotions that are really motivating your behaviors in the world. And then you start to sit with them, and you give them the presence and the time and attention that they need to surface and unwind. Now the energy that was formerly held up in holding all of that gunk in and down beneath the surface of your awareness is now available for
whatever else you want to use it for.
Whatever else you want to use it for. And I look to some of my teachers who are in their 70s, 80s, and they're so prolific. They have these big, bright eyes. They're writing books. They're teaching. They're doing all this stuff because they're not holding anything. They're empty. So I feel like I'm on a soul mission to call more men to the practice of meditation and to disabuse men from this notion that it's hippy-dippy or new age or kind of gay or not my thing or whatever, all the thing that guys say, because in my experience, meditation is the warrior's work. It's badass. That's my mission, is to make meditation badass again. And if you don't believe it's badass, then sit for 30 minutes and see how that goes. Go on a 3-day retreat, see how that goes. Right. This shit is fucking hard, but it's the challenging things that hold the treasure. So a lot of the guys that I work with are very active, very fit, very type A, but you get to a point where what's more challenging, to do a grueling workout or to sit still for 15 minutes? Like, what's really more challenging? And so if we want to grow ourselves, we have to lean into the things that are authentically challenging.
Right. And are you still finding that now? Things that are authentically challenging?
Yeah, but it's different things for me. It's like, I find myself at a point on my journey where it's like I've created a list of practices and stuff that I do every day that take a couple of hours, if not longer, and these are my disciplines that I have to do. And now I'm entering a period where I find it more challenging not to do them than to do them, and I almost hold onto them like a crutch. And I find that the challenge for me is now to be less structured, more spontaneous. It's like, why do I do all of these things? I do them to arrive here now in this present moment.
Right.
And that's available right now, whether I do my morning breath work or not. So it's almost like you have to build this relentless discipline. And then Great Spirit, God, says, okay, now you got to give it up. And you say, fuck, I got to give this up too? I gave everything up.
Right.
Yeah, you got to give that up too. Okay, I give up.
It reminds me of The Surrender Experiment. Have you read it?
No, but please.
Michael Singer?
Oh, it's on my bookshelf, but I haven't read it yet.
Oh, yeah. So he talks about that. So he started his journey. He's the author of The Untethered Soul, if you read that.
Mm-hmm.
So The Untethered Soul is the lessons. The Surrender Experiment is the story of kind of how he got there. And it started with incredible amounts of meditation, and then at one point coming to this similar realization that this is, now he's attached to the process of non-attachment, like that.
Right.
I don't remember the exact words he used. And then getting to a life where he surrenders that.
Yeah.
Can I let go of this? Can I
Definitely.
let go of this?
And that's what I'm seeing more and more clearly, is that surrender is actually the epitome of ferocity, strength. It's just the complete giving up. That's it. But an individual you can't listen to this podcast and say, oh yeah, Elliot Michael said you got to give up, so the daily practice isn't really even that important. You have to go too far. You as an individual have to become too attached. You have to have that experience, and then you have to give it up. You can't just you can't bypass that one.
Right. It's similar to like I was in recovery from addiction for a while, and sometimes you'll hear people's criticism of it saying, "Oh, I don't want to say I'm an addict for the rest of my life." Well, are you willing to say it for one day? Are you willing to admit for once that this thing is kicking your ass?
Yeah.
And then when you go through that process for a long enough time, and you're like, "Wow, I've been able to honestly look at myself and realize that these behaviors are destroying my life," then at some point in time, that thing can become the thing that's killing you. But sometimes people hear that and say, oh, I don't want to go to recovery because I don't want to say for the rest of my life that I'm an addict.
Right.
Don't say it for the rest of your life. Say it now.
There is no rest of your life, really.
Right. There's
right now.
There's right now. Right. Can you say it now? And then, I once had this realization. It's a continuous realization that a lot of the work is really about coming back to a place of free choice.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have free choice? I think there's a Hasidic, like a main Hasidic book, like one of the foundational Hasidic masters wrote a book, and he says that, it's our job to change our nature. And I learned it as a child, like it's our job to change our nature. And I was like, why would I want to change our nature? If our nature is good, why would I want to change it? And like thinking about that now, that's exactly what we want to do, because otherwise we don't have a choice. If we have the nature of being nice to everyone, well, there are times that call for, boundaries. And if we have the nature of putting boundaries everywhere, well, there are times that call for niceness. So it's constantly about creating free choice for ourselves.
You're a brilliant man, because that's the perfect segue to savage and saint.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So there's this unfortunate notion that the healing path of becoming whole, becoming happy, is all unicorns and rainbows. Namaste. But you're hinting toward this notion that no, you actually have to be. Here's the thing. I'm sure you've encountered some of your teachers, your elders, who have these authentic smiling eyes, and they seem to be clear and free and bright, and they have quite a saintly affect. Yeah? But they've cultivated that by becoming an absolute savage, by stewarding their mind moment by moment by moment to choose peace, to choose beauty, to choose love. If you meet, this savage and saint, you asked me how did I come up with it? How did it came through me. Initially, like I said, in one area of my life, I was doing a deep exploration of meditation. In another area of my life, I'm doing a deep exploration of martial art. Okay, meditation is saint, martial art is savage. But it's much deeper than that. It's more like the yin-yang symbol, where the savage is within the saint is within the savage. If you would become well, if you would become happy, you have to contact a relentless determination, a savage drive to get your shit together. But you channel that into the pursuits that will develop and grow you and open your heart. But like we said before, meditations, it's the warrior's work. If you ever meet a bodhisattva, a monk who is emanating peace just from their being, like they just uplift you when you're around, those people exist. They're savages. They're absolute savages. They surrendered themselves moment by moment. They surrendered their own preference. They surrendered their own pain. They surrendered into this practice of living for the benefit of others. So that's it. That's the real warrior's work. The saint represents this capacity to, in a given moment, in this moment, unconditionally and radically accept yourself and reality as it is right now. From a certain vantage point, the notion that you could ever even improve yourself or the world is obscene. It's perfect.
Right.
And you can access that vantage point. The savage is, I have work to do, I have something to give. I'm out of balance in some areas of my life, and I need to be better for the people who love me. And there is nothing that is going to stop me. Any obstacle that stands in my way, I will annihilate. I will improve always, in all ways, forever. Then you got to bring those two together. It's perfect. I'm perfect. But I have to keep moving forward. One without the other isn't enough. So we have to bring them both together. And when you find that critical balance, you land in that perfect center point between unconditional radical acceptance and a relentless determination to improve yourself in the world, good energy comes through you.
And good things happen. How has this stuff changed your life?
Man, I told you, I moved out from Philly at age 24, and I didn't know what I was doing, man. I was fleeing my environment. I thought maybe I'll go out to LA for 6 months and it'll be a cool story.
And at those points in time, you were working as a physical trainer?
Yeah, I mean, I came out to LA and I was working as a fitness trainer because I honestly, getting back in the gym, I was an athlete in my younger days and then I just kind of lost my path. But the gym really was, I learned a lot of lessons about life in the gym. Eventually I got to the point where my work in the gym wasn't really fulfilling my heart. I wanted to meet people at a deeper level, work with them at a deeper level. But anyway, how has it changed my life? What I was saying was, I had no idea. I didn't set out to do this at all. I mean, if I just pause and look around, I don't even know how I got here, bro. This is crazy. But if I was to tell that 24-year-old kid the work that I'm doing, who I'm working with, and how much I love it, and what I've become, I wouldn't even believe it. It wouldn't have made any sense. So I'm not sitting here today saying that that I don't have my own problems and struggles. I'm a work in progress and I always will be. But I know my lived experience from a long time ago. I know my lived experience right now. I know what I've done to get here, and I know it's possible for anybody. And my joy comes from helping people to pause, step out of their own darkness, and recognize that, oh, this could be an intelligence greater than me, giving me the experience that I need right now to get my ass in gear. And I'm deeply fulfilled in my work. And we talked about this, I think, before we started recording a bit. It's like, I'm wealthy because I'm doing what I would be doing anyway. And my work is easy because I just tell people what I do.
Right.
The hard part is getting your shit together.
Right. Once you get that,
but once you get that, then you just tell people what you do.
Right.
But man, some of the people that I'm working with, some of the clients that I have, some of the people that I'm meeting, doesn't make any sense. And if you would just do the hard work to press pause, go inside, and find the thing that moves your heart, that moves your soul, and move in that direction, I promise you will have experiences where you're engaged in the moment, but if there's a part of you that's saying, what the fuck? How the fuck did I get here? I don't know. I'm just going with the flow.
Right. You had said that oftentimes your clients are doing well on the outside, externally in the world, but they're feeling depleted on the inside. So what do you see? Because you're, like you said, you're teaching the most basic foundational stuff.
Yeah.
What do you see as the obstacles to force someone to embark on these practices? Because they're simple, but not easy.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the first thing that comes to mind, especially for type A successful individuals, is an addiction to work, is an addiction to being busy. Because that provides the distraction from contacting the deeper parts of themselves that are not so pleasant to sit in. A man who's successful in the external world has to come to a point where you ask, is working harder, making more at this point going to improve my experience of my own life? And if the answer is no, then
right. For many people, it won't even change it.
It won't change anything.
Right, except for the moment of distraction that you're talking about.
Right. So there's a quote in the Tao Te Ching, the ancient generals have a saying, rather than advance an inch, it's better to retreat a yard. And the business world is going to constantly encourage you to advance an inch, do another thing to advance an inch. But true health and wellness and healing often requires to retreat a yard. And that's a tough sell for some people because, look, it goes back to our original point of meditation, not just meditation, but like the healing journey. It's the warrior's work. It's scary. It's hard to do. If you ever done a deep clean of your living space, not just a surface level dusting, but a deep clean, there's some point in between starting and finishing where things are messier than they were when you started.
100%.
That's what healing is like. So not everybody's ready. And I honestly spend time trying to talk some people out of working with me because I want to make sure that you're ready for a deep dive because
it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's totally worth doing. Like, it's the only thing worth doing, to establish a coherent narrative on yourself of your personal history, to know yourself at the deepest levels, to liberate emotional residue that you're carrying, to come to the point where you authentically love, respect, and admire yourself. That's the point of a human life. So how much longer are you going to ignore that pursuit?
Right. Well, obviously, the time people are coming to you, there's a question there, even if they're not fully ready.
Yeah.
There's the question mark.
So here's the thing: it's like people who are motivated to a deep inquiry come from two populations. I explained to you where I was coming from. I come from the side of the game where you're suffering quite a lot.
Right. That's where I was. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, life is difficult to manage. My mind is difficult to manage. I'm suffering greatly. Fuck, man. What do I got to do? Breathwork? Tell me what to do. I'll do it. Like, whatever. Oh, I got to go to Joshua Tree for 3 days and not talk to anybody? Yeah, that's crazy. All right, I'll try it.
Right.
And then the other population is things are going really well. Like, actually, things are going so well. Like, you've accomplished the thing that you set out to accomplish.
And then there's an emptiness.
There's an emptiness.
You know what? So when you describe that, it sounds like me also. I feel like I was in both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were double blessed. But that kind of is, those people. And then in the middle is most people, where life's not so bad, it's not so great.
But there's this lie you can tell yourself that
if I got that 10 million,
yes,
I'd be on easy street. But some of these people get the 10 million and they say, I think I'm more miserable now.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely an aha moment for me when there were some financial goals that I set that I hit.
Yeah.
And it was, what did Trump say? Get tired of winning. It wasn't what I thought it would be. There was a deep loneliness and emptiness after that.
Yeah, so you want to source your wealth, your worth, in something deeper than what you've accumulated.
100%.
And then, you can enjoy the fruits of your labor, as you should. And you should go get more money if that's what will make you happy, because you can do a lot of good in the world with money, arguably more than you can without it.
Yep.
But I had a teacher, Shinzen Young, describe, I think, the 4 quadrants of individuals, if I can remember this. People who lack the conditions for happiness, the material conditions for happiness, and also lack the spiritual understanding of how to access happiness independent of conditions. That's most people. And then there's people who know how to access happiness independent of conditions and don't have the conditions for happiness. I spent some time at a monastery in Myanmar and years ago, and I'm talking people were in destitute poverty, but I never saw bigger smiles. It was confusing to me how happy they were. It was strange. Some of these individuals had come to the place on the inner path where they could cultivate happiness. Didn't matter what they had. And then there's people who have, this is America basically. We
Yes.
we have the external conditions for happiness, but we don't have the insight that we can have happiness independent of conditions. And now there's a category that you could find yourself in. You can be very wealthy and you cannot need any of it. You can source your happiness, your contentment on something much deeper than what you've accumulated, but then you can still enjoy the fruits of your labor. And if it was taken from you, all right, it's a little complicated. It's not really what I would have wanted, but I'm at peace with it.
Right. One of the tougher experiences of my life was 6 years ago. Nearly went bankrupt, and for a good year, it was. I didn't know what I'd what I'd see in the mirror looking back.
Yeah.
And looking back at it now, it was a period of profound growth. And this was after some recovery from addiction. This was after I'd done some deep trauma work and everything else. But this was, I guess the only way to say it is just this identity work.
Yeah.
Just who am I? Who am I without the money? Who am I without the stuff? Who am I without whatever it is I attached to it? The freedom to do things, the freedom to help people, whatever it was. All of that was slipping away. And it took a long time to find my bearings.
Good for you, man. Sounds like you've had a very interesting journey.
Yeah, we'll flip the we'll flip chairs at some point, at task. But you've intrigued me by what you've said. There's definitely some of those things I do better than others. Breath has been a practice of mine for a while, and if there's a breathwork going on or there's a breathwork teacher, I want to hear what they have to say. And meditation on and off, not nearly as much as I could or should. And the food. Let's talk more about hydration for a little bit. Are you just talking about water? That's it?
Yeah.
Anything more to say? Because you said you spent 2 weeks on it.
Some of the principles are a little more involved than others, and a lot of them require quite a bit of energy to make the necessary lifestyle modifications. In some of the course, it's like, okay, you have to do this, and it's going to take some energy on your part. In others, it's you can leverage things that you're already doing, and just, for example, you don't need to be sitting still in the full lotus to be meditating. You can just become intentional with your attention during the times that you're taking a shower or driving the kids to school or that stuff.
Right.
But the hydration is one of those where it's like, okay, we started with 6 weeks and it's been some pretty significant changes and we're asking a lot. Now we have a 2-week period where all you got to do, literally all you have to do, is take your body weight in pounds, cut it in half, drink that many ounces of water a day. The thing that you want to do is, for me, it's about a gallon. So I have a glass gallon jug at home. I fill it up in the morning, and by the time I go to sleep, that thing is gone. And that's it. Now, there's some practices that we do in the course where you can... Every lifestyle modification that we're making over the course of the 12 weeks is in conjunction with some meditative technique. Really, the course is like a meditation course. But we're making these lifestyle modifications to amplify the progress that we're making in the meditation practice. So by the time we get to the water, we practice just blessing the water, which sounds woo-woo, but all you're doing is just taking a moment and intentionally generating the feeling of love, kindness, and offering it to the water, and then you drink it. What is that doing? Well, there's the studies with Masaru Emoto. Have you ever seen the Japanese...
Writing the letters on the outside of the water?
Yeah. So...
But describe it. Some may not have heard about it.
So this man set up glasses of water, and they would write like hate on it or anger. And on other ones, they would write love, peace, kindness. And I think that they would have people then actually generating those feelings at the water. And then he put the drops of water under a high-powered lens and would take pictures of the molecules. And the molecules that were given those intentions of love, kindness, the
Positive
angels
yeah.
of human nature, those pictures were these pristine geographical images that an artist couldn't even create. They were so beautiful. And the ones with anger, hatred, so on and so forth, were all jagged and kind of, just not aesthetically pleasing. So the human body is mostly water, right? So what are you thinking moment by moment? Not just about yourself, but just what energies are you running through your body that's going to have an effect on you, on your well-being. Even if you don't subscribe to any of that, even if that's just not your thing and you can't really make that leap, you are at least learning that is within your power to stop, to take a deep breath, and to become intentional with what you feel. That's like a superpower. If you can become intentional with your feeling state, like each human body mind is like a song. And if we come to a point where we can become aware of the sound of our song moment by moment and make a pleasant contribution to the greater song of which we're a part, our lives become more beautiful, more pleasant, and our presence becomes more medicinal to the people around us. And you can learn that with just something as simple as every day just taking a moment before you drink your water and just, oh yeah, let me practice that one song, that musical note that I was on. What's that love thing? A little clunky. You learn how to do it. The question becomes, why would I stop doing that? So your song starts to become a little more sweet. And you just practice you plant these moments of practice throughout the course of your day.
Right. I mentioned before within Judaism that there's kind of a law for everything. So one of those is that before eating any food, drinking anything, there's a blessing. That's
you did mention that, and I had a thought. I think that that's really profound. And I think all of those rules, and I've thought quite a bit about this around like faith traditions and prayers and stuff, ritual. It's meant to recollect the human mind back to intention. All of those rules, if you have 613 rules, you're not allowing your mind to wander too far from the center, right? The mind wandering mode.
Right. Everything becomes an intentional act.
Everything is a moment to, oh yeah, come back. But then I think in time, we talked about surrender. In time, you get to that place where you are living in the center. And the rules start to pull you out of that state. Because now it becomes a heady kind of a mental thing, a compulsive thing that you have to do. And maybe at that point, it's wise to let the rules go. Or maybe you hold on to the rules to be an example for the ones who are a little further behind you on the path. But the way you hold the rules is a little different than the way you held them before.
Maybe. I'll let you know. Yeah. I appreciate you, Michael. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, man.
Thanks for coming out. And,
wow, we're already wrapping up. What was this, 5 minutes? I feel like we were moving.
Yeah. If you have some final thoughts or
No. I was just making a joke how, when you go into
it does
the
go
moment,
fast.
it goes very quickly. But no, it was a great pleasure to rap with you, Eli. And
and hopefully we do stuff. And hopefully, I said before that this podcast there's a conversation, and the conversations live on in its own right, regardless of publishing. But even with the conversations and the publishing, there's oftentimes experiences or relationships or something else that comes from it. So Absolutely. I hope this turns into a beautiful connection.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Yep. You are medicine.
So are you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,